Pressure is a 2026 historical war film directed by Anthony Maras, starring Andrew Scott as meteorologist Captain James Stagg and Brendan Fraser as General Dwight D. Eisenhower, focusing on the 1072 hours before D-Day when they had to decide whether to launch the invasion based on a critical weather forecast. What I liked most. So, I liked that the movie was talking about the pressure that General Eisenhower was facing before launching the attack, but also the fact that it had to do with the weather forecast or pressure, like air pressure. You don't understand the science behind the name before you see the movie, which was pretty cool. The suspense was top-notch in the historical war elements of the film, though I don't know how accurate, they were surely entertaining, especially for those that are big fans on tactical military stuff. The emotion, suspense, and historical context of the movie was top-notch in the film. The pressure builds and builds on the chief meteorologist in the movie, with many of the members of the military cabinet relying on his forecast on whether they launched the attack or not, and mounting pressures, which I won't go into specifics, but mounting pressures which anyone else would have cracked under, our chief meteorologist keeps it together. The best scene. So there might be some slight spoilers ahead, so just be wary, but my favorite scene in the movie was when our chief meteorologist walks into the colonel's office and has some weather data that he thinks he needs to take a look at. The colonel and our chief meteorologist have been at odds for a long time during the movie, and I think that this act sort of turned it around. And instead of working against each other, they started working together. The strengths. Some of the strengths of the movie were convincing reenactments of what the war during that time might have been, such as showing the rations that they had, and the performances by some of the main actors in the movie were done right. I like how this goes into the naval tactics used during such as an operation such as D-Day, which is something you don't see very often. Usually, it focuses on the war elements, while this focused on the science of knowing when to strike based on the weather, which is important during an invasion by sea. If I was to nitpick on something, I would say that I wish it had a little bit more action in it. It was definitely mostly taking place in the officers' corridors where they were planning the attack, and a lot of it was meteorology and meetings between the different war generals and naval commanders than actual action. I wasn't sure what to expect, but anyone who wants to know what happened during the few days that led up to D-Day, the D-Day attack, this is a great behind-the-scenes look at not the war, but the actual planning and science of it. That said, we did get to see the attack happen, but this is more of a historic reenactment of the planning rather than the war itself. So this movie gets an A from me. I was thoroughly engaged throughout the entire movie, and at 1 hour 40 minutes, it was just the right length of time to give you a good historical context and depth of story of what happened the few days before D-Day. Those that love military strategy and historical war movies would love it, but those that are action fans and just looking for a casual watch, this probably wouldn't be your first choice of movie. I liked it because I'm a war buff, and military tactics and strategies, behind-the-scenes stuff is my cup of tea. This is Emmanuel with the Grab Some Popcorn podcast, and those were my thoughts on the new movie Pressure, which is out now in theaters. Over and out.